can be a confusing subject. It incorporates aspects of artistic skill, composition, creativity, along with the physics and chemistry that makes it all possible. It's an art form that dates back tens of thousands of years, but has only recently incorporated modern scientific discoveries into the craft. So how does it all fit together, and how does it work? Let's start where most potters do, with throwing.
It may surprise you that the key to throwing is a good understanding of physics. Newton's famous third law states that every action has an equal opposing reaction. Every time you use force on a clay body, it will push against you, but ultimately move away from the force. For example, when I cone the clay up, I push in from the bottom of the clay since I know it has nowhere else to go but up, and I do the inverse to push it back down. You can utilize different pressures while throwing. Using the same amount of force will have different effects depending on whether you use your full hand or just a finger, since pressure is dependent on the area it's applied to. This allows me to make gradual movements with my full hand and specific, stronger movements with my fingers to manipulate the clay. The key element that allows this manipulation is water. Water not only reduces the friction between hands and clay and allows for smoother throwing, but keeps the clay together via weak hydrogen bonds between extremely thin layers of clay. This allows the clay to move when force is applied, but maintain its shape when left alone. As the water evaporates from the clay, the pot will shrink as the layers of clay get closer and closer to one another. The clay will become less malleable, first becoming leather hard and eventually fully drying to bone dry, also known as greenware, when it can be fired in the kiln. As the clay is fired, the weak hydrogen bonds still chemically bonded to the clay are driven off and replaced by stronger oxygen bonds. These bonds link the clay particles together, the clay densifies, then undergoes vitrification and becomes permanently bisqueware once it's done firing. Vitrification is when the glass elements such as silica, alumina, and other flux elements within the clay melt during firing and reharden as the clay cools. This keeps the clay together, and the amount of these elements present in the clay will determine the strength, density, and porosity of the bisqueware. Most low-fire clays do not have much of these materials in them, and are therefore weaker and more porous than other clays like porcelain, which contains 1/3 of these materials. Silica, the main body of glass, alumina, a very chemically durable glass, and other flux elements, which lower the vitrification temperature, will ultimately affect what temperature the clay must be fired to. There are many different kinds of kilns used to achieve different effects when firing. Electric kilns are common and are loved for their consistent results and ease. Some other commonly used kilns are gas kilns, wood kilns, and my personal favorite, raku kilns. The science components intrinsically connected to pottery are part of why I love both subjects. And while this was only an overview of some of the science used in ceramics, I hope that this video was helpful in better understanding art and science's unbreakable bond.